Good day, everybody. Chris Herline here of Reap Financial. I hope this finds you well. I'm coming to you with today's Wealth Report. It is Friday, June 21st, 2024. And I want to dive into a discussion today around when it may be time to update your will and estate plan. As retirement advisors, we see dozens and dozens of estate plans throughout the year and help families connect with our vetted estate attorneys to ensure that their estate is buttoned up and bulletproof. We really want you to build a wall around your wealth. But what we find is many estate plans aren't as solid as many of our clients, many of the families we serve believe. And it's not just one or two areas. Deficiencies are widespread. These imperfect estate plans I'm talking about either won't deliver the expected results, or meeting the objectives, meeting the goals will cost significantly more than maybe the family anticipated. This is one of the reasons we ask to see our family's estate plans when we begin working and bringing you on board with Reap Financial. The good news is that a deep dive into the details of a plan, a family can really reveal both the problems and solutions for their situation. When an estate owner isn't fortunate enough to have issues pointed out by an experienced professional, an estate planner or estate planning attorney, your loved ones will learn about the defects and deal with their effects as well. So today I'm going to dive quickly into many of the gaps that we see in families' estate plans. The first one, and a very common one, is letting too much time pass. Estate planning is a continuous process, not just a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's not something you just get stamped and notarized and throw in your gun safe and forget about it. Once a plan is completed, and this is understandable, many people don't want to devote the time and resources to that effort again. They want to leave a binder of documents on a shelf or in a safe place until they're needed, preferably by somebody else. But this is life, and many things change over time, often requiring you to adjust your plan. An outdated estate plan can cost a family a lot of money and time on the back end of things. And many of the factors that you may not even be aware of that can change over time are tax laws, other areas of the law, your circumstances, your family, your goals. Many of the families we've worked with over the years, they often don't know about or recognize important changes until they have their plans reviewed. Now, another big gap we see is an outdated trust. What was once a very effective trust provision now, that may go against your goals. Many events can cause trust provisions to become obsolete or, in some cases, counter to what your objectives are. A very common case we see is maybe you had a trust that was drafted when your children were young or less sophisticated than they are now, and possibly you put provisions in that trust to protect them. But now they're grown up, and maybe these provisions you've put in could be very expensive, very costly to administer by a trustee or beyond. We see it. Your values, your goals may have changed over the years. Perhaps it's no longer necessary for a trust to give beneficiaries incentives to obtain education, achieve some other goals like, being employed, things like that. Or maybe new incentives and goals are in order. We have many families that want to see their trust assets invested with some social or other goals in mind, while many families don't consider any of those factors at all. Another thing that happens commonly that we see a big gap around is you or the trustee might have relocated to another state. And if you haven't moved, do you know if your state might have amended its trust laws? Either of these things require the trust to be updated. So if you're a family that may have worked with us for years, you've moved out of state to get closer to your kids or grandkids, maybe you're considering this, your estate plan, your wills, trust need to be top priority because they are state specific. Now, there can be assets that are outside of your general investment accounts. I'm a collector of many things. I love to collect wine. I love to collect guitars. The list goes on. Things that I'm passionate about. And many of you have things that you're passionate about. So let me ask you, how vague are your plans around your passion assets? These passion assets include collections. In many cases, passion assets include collections or things that are related to your personal interests and hobbies. We have clients that collect coins, cars, comic books, firearms, and much more. And many of these things might have significant monetary value. In some cases, maybe only emotional value to you, the owner. Maybe only a few of the family members see value in these items. Many of these items can be hard to value, difficult to sell, expensive to maintain, often require specialized knowledge. Many heirs out there, maybe your kids, consider carrying or managing these type of assets. Well, they consider it a burden or an obligation in some cases. So it's really important to develop a specific plan for dealing with your passion assets. Review it from time to time as your collection grows or your collection shrinks, and make sure everything still makes sense. Perhaps maybe one of your loved ones, maybe one of your children shares your interest. If so, maybe that person should inherit those items. But consider whether that would result in an inequitable division of the estate value. Is the asset valuable? Does the asset generate expenses but no income once your heirs inherit? When no one in your family shares an interest in an asset, generally the best action is often for you to negotiate a sale of the asset or make a gift or a donation to a person or an organization that does share interest and passion in those type of items. Another big gap, especially here in Central Texas, is not having a specific plan for specialty real estate in your portfolio. So what's specialty real estate? Many of our clients own specialty properties, things like vacation homes, secondary real estate. Maybe you've got a ranch, a farm, undeveloped land. That's what we classify as specialty real estate. A goal is to often have the property, especially a vacation home, continue in the family because the family enjoyed the time there, the memories, and the parents oftentimes would like the tradition to continue. But in some cases, the succeeding generation, they may not have resources to purchase similar properties or even maintain the property they are inheriting. And then you have the case where you've got multiple children that may inherit the property, and so a lot of joint decisions must be made at that time. So when you're talking with your spouse or you're putting together a plan for specialty real estate, you need to be asking yourself questions like, how will the use of this property be shared with the family? How will the expenses of the property be split? Who will make the decision about repairs and improvements? What if one beneficiary lives much closer to the property than the other? What happens when one beneficiary wants to cash out and the others don't? This is only a small set of the issues that we encounter with our clients. When you inherit land from mom and dad, and again, maybe a brother or sister doesn't want any part of it, just wants to be cashed out, but that means either you're writing the check personally or you got to liquidate the asset, the property. In many cases, the best choice is to direct an executor to sell the property or you sell it during your lifetime. Now, you got to be aware in some cases with your homestead, there's a step up in cost basis. You wouldn't want to lose that. Another option may be to leave this specific property or this piece of specialty real estate to those who are really interested in it and adjust the disposition of the rest of your estate, the rest of your assets, so that's an equal playing field for all your inheritors. Another consideration that you need to be thinking through is, are your beneficiaries prepared? I call it unprepared heirs. You've accumulated all this wealth and the estate has grown gradually over time. You've become used to managing it. Your investments might have appreciated for decades without affecting your lifestyle, or you haven't really needed to pay much attention to them. Your heirs are generally going to be in a different position. In some cases, they have far less experience with that amount of wealth and perhaps with the type of assets that you own. And believe it or not, sudden wealth becomes quite a burden for some people. It's a really good idea to take time now to make your heirs familiar with the wealth they're likely to inherit eventually and how it should be managed, the professionals that you entrust to manage it maybe on their behalf. Don't let them be surprised by the value of your estate. This can really flip things upside down. Maybe consider whether they should inherit assets outright or indirectly through a trust that is managed by a professional trustee. That can give you more control of how that money is distributed over maybe a period of years or even generations. The key here is to have a strategy that gives beneficiaries some time to get used to the amount of money that they're going to inherit so that they can prepare themselves. Another big pitfall is having inadequate cash flow. What I mean by this is estate liquidity. Liquid money in your estate is often an overlooked issue. When you fail to ensure that the estate has access to cash that it may just need to pay, basic expenses, many times this can diminish the inheritance. We've seen in some cases assets that have to be sold at fire sale prices just to raise cash to administer the estate. And let me explain the biggest one to you as I close. It's failure to optimize your tax planning. And for years, we've counseled you and so many of our clients around keeping your wealth, positioning your wealth today to keep it in the bloodline, to reduce your tax bill as much as possible. But when it comes to tax planning for your estate, there's something to be aware of. The lifetime exemption is scheduled to be cut in half at the end of 2025. And that's if Congress doesn't agree to compromise to extend the current exemption. I want you to be sure that you review your plan or meet with your advisor to review your plan to ensure that your estate is not going to be subject to 40+% taxes if this law changes in 2025. It's also very important to include your income taxes today within your long-term estate planning. For example, if you sell an investment that's appreciated a lot, you're going to owe long-term capital gains tax on the appreciation. But in some cases, if you keep that asset, your heirs could increase the tax basis to its current fair market value and sell it immediately upon your passing without owning any capital gains taxes. These are just a few of the things that we see trip up tax planning in your estate planning. As your retirement advisors, we look at everything through the tax lens first, and we're looking for ways today for you to minimize your income tax, maximize your income, and minimize family income taxes over their lifetime. As always, thanks for tuning in with me on our wealth reports. Now click here to catch up on our last wealth report if you missed it.